Hi, and welcome to another episode of Madness and Mayhem. So today is it's the 1st of December. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's December already. That's kind of scary, but it is what it is, and we are where we are. Okay, so let me just jiggle my screen a little bit. There we go. Now I can see what's going on. Okay, so awkward. Can I? Oh no. No, that's annoying. Sorry, it's just moving things around and now I've just lost my notes. Nope, now I've lost everything. Oh well, there we go. Okay, so today we're going to be talking all about oh no, there we go, back. We're going to be talking about, first up, the demolishing of democracy, I believe I've called it. No. Yes, there we go. Dismantling of democracy. Then we're going to be talking about the Russian boomerang that nobody saw coming, and then don't roll into 2026 without this. So I'm going to leave you on a high because it's the 1st of December. We're going to be talking about what you can do in the next 30 days to make 2025 count rather than it being dead on arrival. And that's how I felt last year around about this time in 2024. Genuinely thought, holy shit, like this year's been a complete write-off. And it hadn't been. It just been a very physically turbulent year this year, and particularly today it's not been that fun. So I'm going to try and kind of get through a lot of this as quickly and usefully as possible, because I had a bit of an accident yesterday and I'm struggling to sit. Okay, so like I mentioned, Madness and Mayhem episode 35, Dismantling Democracy plus Don't Roll into 2026 without this. So first up, we're going to dive into dismantling democracy. And of course, we're going to be talking about the UK budget. Absolute mishmash mess of another bullshit political farce. So I have also started a petition. Petition, please sign. So I need 5 people to sign so it can go and get so 5 people need to sign, and that will let the petitions team know that it's worthwhile, worth kind of looking into. And then once it's signed, I think up to 21 people can sign it before it's live, and either they'll make it live or they'll make it rejected. Just so you know, similar petitions have been done in the past and, got over 100,000 signatures and been debated, and they say no every single time. So it's about making it's a criminal offence to mislead, for ministers to mislead, and that will make more sense as we go through the budget. So the moment Keir Starmer turned around and said, oh well, if people do naughty stuff, then it's up to me, they have to come and resign. She hasn't resigned. So we should have the power to hold people accountable when they are lying. At the moment, it's nothing. Like, it does not matter. Politicians can literally lie to the public and nothing happens because of it. Like, if I lied to members of the public and misled them, pretty sure I would get arrested. And they can do it in the Houses of Parliament because it comes under ministerial bullshittery. So basically they can just say whatever they want and it doesn't matter whether it's true or not true. And if they've accidentally said something, then they'll just apologize. But I was genuinely unaware of the fact that they are just allowed to lie. When they're in Parliament, when they're doing all that sort of stuff, you can't call them in. If They lie on the media, which is why they tend to evade questions on the media. If they lie on the media, you can follow other routes. But they will just say that it was an accident. Oh, I didn't realise, I didn't mean to, it was a mistake, I'll apologise. But as ministers, they shouldn't, especially if they're the fucking if it's the chancellor, they should know, right? She out and out lied multiple times. She would have known better. Okay. So let's look into the budget, and then you'll understand why I've started this petition. So we're going to kind of say the major key things. That's what she's supposedly doing, right? Cutting NHS waiting lists, because there's a giant waiting list because they just don't see anybody ever. Reducing national debt, which is hilarious, and we're going to talk about the national debt, and easing the cost of living. So I don't know who she's easing the cost of living for, because it came out to say that in order for me as a taxpayer to earn enough money to thrive in the same way as somebody on benefits, I would need to be earning £71,000 a year. I don't earn anywhere near that. So I'm not quite sure. So the taxpayers, the people who are funding this, are going to be worse off again, to fund the people who don't deserve it. And I don't believe anybody on benefits should be getting a free ride. The only people who should not be having to work for the money they get are the pensioners. That's it. Like, if you are at pension age, then that's fine. I mean, if you're a stay-at-home mum and you're raising your children, you can still do voluntary stuff if they're not in the home with you, right? That is the way that I have believed for a very long time the benefit system should be run. If the government is giving you money to not work, then you work for the government. Like, whatever it is you're doing, stuffing letters, whether you are fielding questions on social media, like, there is something that you can do. So you got to fucking do it. Same as prisoners. Like, we are paying for them to be housed so they can fucking work. Like, there's lots of stuff that we should do in our country that we don't anymore, like bin collect. I mean, look at fucking Birmingham with no bins collected. The streets are disgusting. We've got litter everywhere. We've got hedges that need cutting. Like, councils can't afford to do this anymore. So then people who are being paid can do it. And, you know, if somebody's got mental health issues, and that's who I work with, right? People with mental health issues, they can get out of bed for 3 hours, 3 hours over a week. They can do something. Like, it will transform their mental health rapidly. Feeling like a useful member of society. Having nothing to do is the thing that destroys you more. And if you've got no legs, fine. We're not going to make you run anywhere. You do something with your hands. If you're blind, fine. We've got text to speech stuff. You know, I know blind people who work. I know deaf people who work. I know people who've got crippling fibromyalgia who can't walk, who work full time to feed their families, right? So I don't have crippling fibromyalgia, but I have like structural physiological complications and an autoimmune disorder, and I work full time, right? So don't come at me with I can't work because of XYZ. You can do something, right? Everybody can do something. While I can't go and fucking, you know, race around in a field for 30 hours a day. Do you know what I mean? Like, straight, 30 hours straight, like the farmers have to during harvest season. I could probably make some sandwiches for them if I needed to. Like, give me a seat in a kitchen. I'd be able to do that. Somebody else could do that for them, right? So this is, and all those people who fucking love socialism and communism, like what I'm proposing, you should fucking love. Like, they should be all over that. But they don't want that. They want money for doing nothing. That does not work. The taxpayers, if you are capable and able to get out there and work and earn money for yourself, enjoy your life. If you're not, because of whatever's going on, that's fine. but you are now contractually obliged to do something that betters society because that's why you're getting your money. Right? How quickly would all those fucking foreign invaders leave if they had to work full time for the fucking pittance? I said pittance for the money that they get, right? They wouldn't. Well, they wouldn't be here anyway. Okay, so that's what she said. She's helping out the cost of living, right? Easing the crisis. So also we had the OBR, the Office for Budget Responsibility, accidentally leaking its forecast early, but they didn't accidentally leak it. They uploaded it to the website using the same formatting, and a canny journalist just thought they'd check, right? That's what happened. They literally just put, OBR forecast November 2025, and the March one was OBR forecast March 2025. Like literally that's all that happened, is somebody just was like, well, I'll just see whether it's there. So it wasn't an official leak, but it did prove Miss Reeves is a fucking bullshitter again. So last year she lied about the £22 billion black hole, and the OBR came out and went, that's not a real thing. Like multiple times she was saying 22 billion black hole, 22 billion black hole, 22 billion black hole, and they kept saying it's not a thing, it's not a thing, it's not a thing, but it stuck, right? So we then had to have the tax rises in 2024 around this time. And then she said there will be no more tax rises, not ever. And here we are again, this time with a 20 billion tax black hole, which again is not true. And they are suggesting that she had between 4 and 9 billion in surplus, right? And then they spent fucking billions on bullshit, right? So if you have got a 20 billion black hole, you don't then go and take money from people who are struggling. You just roll back your fucking spending. Like if I need £200 to do something, I don't go borrow like £2,000 on a credit card. I will go, okay, Kate, you probably don't need, I don't know. Nobody in the UK who's earning has got lots of luxuries right now. But say if I was going to have, so we had steak pie. I said it wasn't steak pie. It was like, beef chunks. It's very rarely steak beef chunks, but so if maybe in the past I would have bought like the high-end beef chunks. So we had with them puff pastry. That's how I can see it in my head. So we had that with puff pastry and cheese, and it's a beautiful recipe. A bottle of Guinness in there. So that's what we had yesterday. That's like 2 meals. And I was in like me and Matt twice. Probably cost 20 quid all in. So it's like £5 a person. And so maybe if we got loads of money, I might throw higher quality meat in there. I might do something else alongside it, right? But if I don't have the money, I'll be like, okay, well, we'll just buy a cheaper cut of meat. And actually I've made it with heart, a beef heart, which is like super cheap, but it is phenomenal in a pie. I actually bought the heart for the dogs and they wouldn't eat it, and I was just like, well, I'm not throwing this freaking. It was like have you ever seen like a cow's heart? It's like as big as your head, and I was just like, well, it's just meat, it's just muscle, it must be. It was like amazing. So we need to get to the butcher probably and get some more. That's well worth it, right? It was so cheap because people don't want it. And liver and onions, cheap, awesome food, right? So I wouldn't get a credit card to buy my food shop. I would go, well, we'll probably just rather than having organic and like specialist avocado, we just probably won't have avocado. I don't really like it anyway. But hopefully you understand what I mean. Like if she's suggesting there's this giant black hole, then you cut back, right? We don't need all the shit that they're purchasing. And when you find out who we're borrowing the money from, then it'll start to make sense to you. So we have pushed the tax hike to a post-war high of 38% of GDP. That's where it's going to be. Almost 40% of the gross domestic product by 2020, 30 and 2020, 30 and 31 will be taxed. So 1.7 million working people will now be dragged into a higher tax bracket. Like, that's where some of this money is coming from. They're also borrowing money like fucking crazy, borrowing money to pay off the interest on the loans that they've already got. And that's what Telford did. Telford got a loan to freeze council tax for the year of the election. And then they had to fucking raise council tax to pay for the loan that they got, to say, look, we're going to freeze it, right, for 12 months. So council tax has gone up. So it's all fucking liars. So they want to raise. So we, the taxpayer, are going to pay 12.4 billion into this supposed black hole. But what will happen is those 1.7 million will now struggle to function. Right? That's what's going to happen. And businesses are fucking being crippled. They are businesses are closing left, right and center. Rich people are fucking leaving. So much so she's having to threaten them by saying, if you leave, you're going to have to pay like 20% tax or whatever it was she was trying to say. They're going. We had a nuclear, giant. We were about to get like loads of billions worth of nuclear. They're like, don't want to, not sure whether I will. Eurotunnel have pulled out of every single investment in the UK. Like, literally, we are hemorrhaging businesses. This is what happens when you go socialist and or communist state, right? Is the people who are paying for everybody else are the people who die. Like, the people die and the country goes bankrupt. So 15 billion tax raise so there's going to be a 3-year freeze on income tax and national insurance thresholds, but that's because they already put them out. Hikes on pensions. So if you've paid in and now you're getting your pension, it's going to be taxed even higher, right? So pensions who live here are going to get taxed. If you're an expat, i.e. you've worked and paid into the UK your entire life and you decided to retire to Spain or somewhere like that, they are looking at getting rid of your pension. Like, you cannot get a pension because you no longer live in the UK. So if you've paid into the UK and decided to emigrate, you don't get your pension. But if you've never paid into the UK and you've come from some random fucking country, then we're going to pay for you to live in a 4-star hotel. Like, do you see like how fucking ludicrous this entire budget is? Mansion tax on high value properties, but it obviously won't affect the politicians because they don't do anything right. So we've got members of our political class who are, not doing the landlord shit right. We had one of them who was responsible for housing. Do you remember her, who ended up getting convicted of fraud? I'm sure she was convicted of fraud. So they just do dodgy shit and nobody cares. Rachel Reeves, let's not forget that she actually faked her CV. Right? She says she was an economist at Halifax. I think it's Halifax. Let me check. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Halifax, Bank of Scotland. And she was just doing, like, she faced expenses probes, right? As in, they thought she was fucking fiddling expenses while she was there. And she was just like running the complaints team in the IT portion. So she wasn't an and people saying, well, everybody fucking fakes their CV. No, they don't. My CV is like 100% accurate. And in the jobs that I've been in, like, my CVs get checked, which it should be, right? But this is why the NHS don't check CVs. This is why we've got people with no medical training who come into the UK and say they're doctors and they get fucking jobs and they just make it up. Like, we had that case a bit ago, this guy who was a fucking doctor who never had any training at all in his life. and the NHS hired him over, actually trained NHS doctors in the UK because, with DEI. Okay, so back to this cockwomble. So they're going to supposedly cut duty on fuel, but then now electric vehicle owners are going to have to pay per mile. Oh, that sucks. They have to pay for their electricity, and now they're going to have to pay per mile. So all those electric vehicles will probably be going back. But landfill, that's green, isn't it? We've killed all those kids getting all of that stuff out of the ground. Destroyed the countries for the lithium and all of that stuff. Absolutely turned them to like toxic wastelands. And now people will be returning their cars because they don't want to pay the extra. So well done to Labour for that. Yeah, clever. But I mean, we all knew that was coming, so they're just idiots if they didn't see it. Cost of living relief. So they've scrapped the 2-child benefit cap. Of course they have, lifting 450,000 children out of poverty, right? Who have they lifted out of poverty, right? It isn't, quintessential British families who are having 6, 7, 8 children and having those children with their cousins who then need the extra money, right? It is the imported families who have huge families. Those were the ones who were being targeted, and working class people who are working can't afford to feed and raise 5, 6, 7 children. So why should they pay for somebody else to feed 5, 6, 7 children? And I'm not saying the children should suffer in any way, shape, or form, but something needs to be done to ensure that people who are being imported and people who aren't working, again, so this is why you just make them work, right? I'm happy paying for 7 children as long as the parents are doing something productive in society, right? I don't believe any child should starve to death in any way, shape, or form, but I don't believe somebody should be at home popping out babies and never putting anything into the system, especially as we have generational people on benefits, like parents, grandparents, and their grandparents, like, literally have never worked a day in their life, ever. So rail fare and prescription freezes, right? So in England, you have to pay for your prescription. In Scotland and Wales, you get it for free. So why don't we get free? Why? Surely that's going to lift people out of poverty, having to pay for their prescriptions, for their medical care. Right? So why does England still pay Wales and Scotland and fucking Wales, who jump over the border into Shrewsbury and Telford Hospital and then bankrupt our hospitals, while they're still getting free fucking healthcare in Wales, right? So I know all about fucking Welsh healthcare, living in Telford, and like my mum working before in Shrewsbury and Telford Hospital. So we also have, rail fare freezes. Well, now we nationalise the rail. So why didn't they just put up the fucking rail fare by like 1%? That goes straight into the government's budget. So we're now paying. So we're paying for other people to get to and from work. 5 million for school libraries, 18 million for playground upgrades. Like 18 million, is that it? Over all the playgrounds in the entire country? That's nothing. Like, that's like a teeny like speck of sand. And I'm not saying that they need all that, but I'm not saying it should be like hundreds of millions, but if you're going to invest in school libraries, you need more than 5 million. Like that won't buy anything at all, right? Let's just say, let's do a calculator. Let's use this big calculator. Right, so 5 million, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 noughts, right? So let's say the books are like 10 quid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 500,000 books if they're a tenner each. how many schools are there? How many so school libraries, not just primary schools, right? So how many schools are there in the UK? How many schools are there in the UK? Like, this is how pathetic this 5 million for school libraries are. 29,000 divided by, let's just do 30,000 just for shits and giggles and add on. It's 29,200. So, you know, maybe they can have like a book that's £12 rather than 10. 16 books for every single school. So that's like, there's just no point doing that at all. What would be better is creating a national library hub, which is electronic, that all the school kids can access, right? Kind of like archive.org. That's what they should spend that 5 million on, buying schools access to archive.org or something. But that's like, what are they going to do with those 15 books? Yeah, probably then the gender brainwashing. But it's just pathetic, isn't it? What did I say? 29,000 schools, so 18 million. Oh. £600 per school for a playground upgrade. Like that won't even get you like a new swing. That's like, they are the most pathetic amounts of money like being fed into the education system. You can't do anything with either of those, like, at all. And our schools are bursting at the seams because of the influx and because of the increased number of random children that are just rocking up. So £150 off energy bills, but they're not actually going to do £150 off energy bills because the energy's like gone up, the bills have gone up, and we pay like fucking insane amounts. So I can't get the other word out. Insane amounts of money on our energy compared to the entire world, because they've sunk everything into this fucking net zero bullshit, and we are getting ripped off by every other country in the world. So it's 26 billion they're putting into infrastructure and investment, but haven't said what that infrastructure and investment is, because if they're only putting 5 million into school libraries and 18 million to playgrounds, like, I mean, that's infrastructure, right? But what are they investing in? And it probably does say in their 200-page document, right? So we are borrowing £138.3 billion next year, and will slowly reduce to 67 billion by 2030, supposedly. 138 billion. So they're just borrowing more money and then raping the taxpayers at the same time. We have unemployment is the highest it's been in a long fucking time. It's around 11%, and it was around 4%. So unemployment has more than doubled, almost tripled. So again, like, people are not working, therefore there isn't any money, right? If you've lost, like, that's an addition. Oh, I can't do maths. This is hot. So if 12 is triple, like this, I can't do it. I'm in too much pain to even attempt to do any kind of maths. Sorry. 7% increase in unemployment. That is a lot of fucking money that's gone. And it won't just be the money from the people who were earning. It'll be from the organizations that have gone bankrupt, right? So they won't be getting corporation tax from those organizations that have crashed. They're not getting the money from all of the rich people who've left. So we're just hemorrhaging money, and now we're just borrowing it left, right, and center. So she's obviously at a 1970s low for chancellors. So we obviously said she was never an economist, but she did do PPE, which is philosophy, politics, and economics at Oxford. And other people who did that was David Cameron, Rishi Sunak. So it's something that is quite common, supposedly, with budding politicians. So they breed them, right? They breed them. They get forced to do the thing that they need to do, and they get molded. And Oxford designed and molded to kind of follow the cabal pattern. She also married a civil servant. She joined Labour at 16, so she is like full on brainwashed. Ex-Gordon Brown aide in 2007. She's supposedly a practicing Christian. She's plagiarized books. So the woman who made Modern Economics, she made inadvertent mistakes, like literally taking entire paragraphs of text and popping it into her book, right? So, and that was in 2023. So how has somebody who has plagiarized somebody else now been put in charge of the fucking treasury? So she says that she was at Halifax Bank of Scotland as a economist, but obviously she was managing complaints and mortgage retention. She said she did about 10 years at the Bank of England. She did like 5 years. She was in Washington's British Embassy for a year, so that was interesting, but supposedly they all get sent there. So that's where she, I don't know, did her cabal intake a proper one? I don't know. She exaggerated that she was a chess champion. So she was the 26th in the under 14s. So I mean, she did play chess, but saying that she was the chess champion when she came 26th in the competition in the under 14s is not really champion. A champion I would expect to be, the person who won. The same is champion in any other kind of contract. But yeah, so she literally cut and paste bits for her book, right? So she has just plagiarized, lied. She has a pattern of behavior which indicates misleading individuals, whether that is her employers, whether that is the public. She's not made a mistake. She is willfully misleading individuals, and there is a pattern of behavior. And that will feed into, hopefully, what kind of comeback we have from her. So like I mentioned, there is the petition that I put out, but we have to have MPs lying. It has to be a criminal offence. But 100%. Now, if somebody's been advised differently, I mean, they will just have to do what everybody else does, is they will have to keep evidence. So if they rock up to a show and they say, oh, like 300 people did X, Y, Z, and this is why we're doing this thing. Somebody turns around and say, well, it's not 300 people, it's 300,000. Like, where the fuck did you get that information from? Then they can say, well, actually, this is my email. I'm sorry. Like it was like my such and such. And they're like, oh, I'm really sorry. We forgot. We like literally wrote 300 and meant to say 300. That, like, if there was an actual legitimate mistake, then that's different. But there's no way she would have known. Like, she wouldn't have known that this was the plan, right? She didn't just wake up in the morning and be like, let's just fucking tax hike. Even that, like, she would have known that we have this between 4 and 9.9 billion pound surplus. So there isn't this black hole. which means she doesn't have to raise that money from the taxpayer, because she's saying the only reason she has to raise the money from the taxpayer is because of the black hole. So that's an actual out and out factual. That's just a lie. Like she have, and if she didn't know, then why are her special advisors, the SPADs, why are their heads not rolling? And I don't mean literally, I mean metaphorically. Why hasn't anybody been fired for misleading the Chancellor of the Exchequer, who was under the impression that we had all this money that was missing, right? So either somebody's lying to her or she's involved in the con. Like, it doesn't just... Like, who was the one who was doing the record keeping? Like, they should be fired. Like, somebody needs to at least be fired, like in any other job. Could you imagine walking into a boardroom and being like, oh yeah, well, we're gonna have to fucking sack like 300 staff because otherwise we can't afford for this thing that we have to absolutely do, because if we don't do this absolutely necessary thing, then the company's gonna go under. And then, like, an hour before you make that announcement, something goes around the board and they're like going, oh, look, we've got all this extra money. This is amazing. Like, we found all this, blah, 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 blah. Then you've come in and you've got completely different. They'll be like, okay, well, somebody's fucked up here. Either we have all this money and the people speaking to you are stupid. Like, they would get sacked. They would get sacked. So I didn't realise, but we didn't. The Bank of England was attached to the MPs, to Westminster until 1998. So it was under Gordon Brown. It was separate, and supposedly this is a good thing. And I didn't realise this until quite late, so I haven't properly looked into it. But I doubt anything that was done under Gordon Brown and Tony Blair was good. There must be some kind of reason for separation of powers, but supposedly since the separation in 1998, I mean, I wasn't old enough to kind of know what was going on back then, is the politicians used to use the economy as a political football, you know, like they do with the NHS, right? And, you know, they would like lower interest rates, and then as soon as they got elected, they would raise it. I mean, kind of like she's just done, right? They're just doing it differently, saying they're going to do one thing and then do something completely differently. But then they went and kind of decided that it has to be independent. So we have 9 advisors who are economists who decide the Bank of England, if I remember that correctly. Yeah, 9 experts, including external economists tasked with hitting a 2% inflation target. Right, that's the Monetary Policy Committee. So supposedly it's been better overall, but it's, well, supposedly better for the markets but worse for people, right? So the rich have got richer, obviously, and then we've got worse. So I don't know how that's supposed to be good. And now they're trying to 2023. They're trying to try and find out if it needs to be tweaked to fit climate change goals, right? So what the fuck has the Bank of England got to do with the climate change goals, right? But that's because we've got to have carbon tax and all that bullshit. So it's a bit more predictable is the overall. Okay, so remember we had, what was it, 139 billion we're borrowing. Sorry, 2 secs. Where are my numbers gone? I'm sure I said 139, didn't I? 138.3. I was like, okay, well, like, where's all this money coming from, right? Because if they're taking money from the taxpayer, they're not borrowing from the taxpayer, they're just fucking raping the taxpayer. So who are we borrowing off? We actually don't owe the IMF any money. We are paying into the IMF, so we, you know, end up actually owning other countries who the IMF are loaning to. But our last kind of IMF loan was in the late 70s, 1979, if I remember correctly. Do I have the heating on? We kind of have it on. It kicks in when it gets below 17 degrees so the dogs don't freeze and so my tortoise doesn't die. But I don't think it's on right at this minute, no. But I have, if you're wondering why I'm sat here in a jumper, I also have a thermal t-shirt on underneath, and I have leggings and thin to thermal trousers on, and I have 2 pairs of socks on. So I'm I'm wearing a few layers, as they say. Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm layered up, and my curtains stay shut to keep the heat in. So our house doesn't usually dip below 17 degrees because we keep it, and it's an old house, so it's like solid walls. But yeah, just a little divergence. So yeah, 138 billion. With 33% is of our debts are held by overseas investors, so foreign central banks, sovereign wealth funds, and private investors, and that equates to 696 billion pounds. 21% is UK-based insurance and pension funds. Bank of England 20%. 15% is like other financial institutions, private non-financial corporations. So this is so the UK taxpayers don't actually own the UK. There's 139 billion controlled by other people. And of those other people, guess which country has the biggest amount of debt that we owe? So we've just authorized this country's super embassy. We have this country's spies in Parliament, at Buckingham Palace. We've just seen this country's spy case collapse because there was no evidence, according to the CPS, despite the fact that there was lots of fucking evidence of spying. This country decided it was going to completely destroy the West and run unrestricted warfare on everybody. The best way to do that is by owning the country's debt. So China used to have 300 billion of our debt. Bearing in mind, China owned the WHO. We had to do what China did during the lockdown. We can't say bad things about China. They have their own little military police stations. The People's Bank of China, which is obviously owned by the Chinese Communist Party because they own everything because it's a communist state, now have 220 to 250 billion pounds of UK debt. So they destroyed our steel industry, which of course they could do, right? Because they're the largest shareholder in the United Kingdom. So 150 years ago, we were destroying their country by flooding it with opium. They just waited and they bought ours. Bank of Japan owns 100 to 120 billion. The Swiss National Bank owns 60 to 75 billion. US Federal Reserve, 40 to 50 billion. European Central Bank, 30 to 40 billion. Saudis, we owe 25 to 35 billion. Korea, India, Brazil, 100 plus billion. So we are, everyone talks about the British Empire, right? Britain, the Brits, they do all these horrible, how are we the ones doing it when we don't even own our own fucking country? There's other countries that we owe, like Norway, Abu Dhabi, Saudi, Qatar, Kuwait, Singapore. US-based asset managers, we owe 120 billion to BlackRock and Vanguard. Right? So that's private investment companies. Japanese insurers, 80 billion. European banks, 60 billion. Hedge funds, 40 billion. Citadel, Millennium, places like that. So Deutsche Bank is up to 60 billion. We also owe the Cayman, Luxembourg, and Ireland around 100 billion, sorry. We also owe France 2.3% of our gilts, and that's about 49 billion. So no wonder we can't get them to stop the boats, because they will just call in their fucking loans, right? We literally have no trading power in the world, right? As soon as I start looking into our debts, and I just didn't even consider it before, like, who do we owe the money to? Now it makes sense. Every single financial decision makes 100% sense. We literally can't do anything because every time we try to do something, they go, oh, well, I mean, we could do that, but you owe us 49 billion that you can't afford to pay. So how about we just don't, and you give us even more money, right? How much money did we give France to fucking stop the boats, and they did nothing? The one in, one out, nothing happened. But here's a really interesting little tidbit of information. I was on Instagram earlier, and there is a group of young lads who have been tracking the boats, and they've been tracking the people throwing the shit over the sides, right? And they've been scraping the English Channel. And they came across something very interesting, that people who are landing on our shores have actually been given French citizenship. So they're in France. France has given them residency. So they're not escaping war-torn areas. They're legitimately escaping France, because France has given them citizenship. So France has to take them back, because we paid them to take them back. And now they're French citizens. They are not asylum seekers in any way, shape, or form, because France is not under threat by anyone except the fucking Islamists over there who are raping and pillaging and destroying the churches and cathedrals, right? But that's really interesting. So why isn't that being spoken about? The fact that, like, at what point is Macron going, oh, well, actually, all these people that we're dumping in your fucking country, we literally give them citizenship as soon as they land. They just don't want to stay here because we just don't treat them nicely like you do. So that is on my list to follow up and find out what we can do next. Like, I haven't had time to look into that, but that was really interesting, that they managed to get, and photos, right? Photos. Now, if you think about, France have the digital ID, they have digital citizenship ID. All we need to do, I mean, we pay into Europol, we pay into Interpol. We pay into the EU fucking system, and now we access their police database. Do you remember that? We had to pay Europe shitloads of money to be allowed to access their fucking system. So all we need to do is scan these people's fucking faces and be like, actually, you're a French citizen. See you later, mate. Or you're a French citizen who just entered our border unlawfully. There's the prison. But you've got two choices: jump back to France or end up in prison. And then once you finish, we will still fucking deport you to France. Because that's not a country that's classed as fucking dangerous. So, fuck you, mate. But I couldn't work out why France was just allowed to take our money, right? Well, that's why, because we owe them £49 billion. But now we have a loophole. Now we have a piece of string to pull on. Oh, shite. So Now, really interestingly, when I was trying to get these finance numbers, and if you've ever kind of used Grok, sometimes they'll give you like side by side, and it says, which one of these do you prefer? And I say, like, A or B. And A and B gave me two completely different sets of numbers. A gave me China as the highest, and then B gave me Bank of Japan and China with hardly anything. So I kind of pointed this out. I said, okay, well, you give me two lots of different numbers. And the reason we don't have the correct numbers is because they're not publicly available. And they should be fucking publicly available. So I'm going to have to do a FOI request, see if I can get hold of these numbers, obviously. But either way, he was able to pull these numbers from like official government statistics, and they both came from two completely different official government statistics, and there was just no way for Grok to tell which one's right, or us. And then the actual pink book or something that it's called didn't have the numbers in it. So the only place to actually go and verify these other numbers, which were pulled from all these different governmental sources, doesn't have the breakdown. So it looks like they've been doing a little bit jiggery pokery and covering up. So in a nutshell, we don't own the country, though. That's because we're borrowing 139 billion from somewhere else, and that's where it's all kind of coming from. So next time you kind of look at some really dodgy fucking stuff that's going on, it's worth trying to find out whether we owe them lots of money. Okay, so there is a MP who was saying that Rachel had breached some kind of law, and I double checked this, and this isn't true, because she hasn't technically raised taxes. So they've done some dodge. This is why they've actually misleading people, right? So she explicitly said, I'm not going to raise taxes, but then they're doing something on the back end, which then in effect raises taxes, right? So she's not stupid. They're not stupid. The political advice, the special advisors know exactly what they're fucking doing. So even if Rachel Reeves doesn't lose her job, somebody in the civil service should be losing their job, right? It's just lying. So oh shit, sorry. What we need to do is document every single time that like we need to find the lies. And I was like hunting, well, we kind of go into this law, that law. No, basically, because she actually can't be fucking done for it as it stands, which is why I started the petition. So Bangladeshi Pakistani households are 3 times more likely to benefit from the child crap increase, which is interesting, isn't it? Considering they've been hemorrhaging those voters to the Greens and to the independent parties and to that fucking Your Party, which had its catastrophic first ever whatever they call it, meeting thing, conference over the weekend. So the Telegraph did kind of log every time that she lied. But she was doing it in the Commons most of the time, which is protected speech, right? But she has done interviews, so we can. It's worth investigating whether we can go down the misconduct of public office. That's what I was looking at first, because we can do that. But again, it's up to the CPS to prosecute. It's up to the police to take it up. But I think if enough of us do something and just like file a complaint, something they'll just quietly get rid of her. But then it just might make them think, right? They are pushing for a privileges committee probe. So Kemi Badenoch is pushing for that. But again, it just means she'll just step down. It is, I think it's deliberate deception, but we'll see. So I said, okay, well, what are next steps? And obviously he was like, oh, you need to email your MP. And I was like, right, okay, well, my MP fucking hates me because he's a Labour wanker. He's an actual Labour wanker, who is a disgusting human. And they don't actually have to respond to us. It's best practice to respond, but they don't have to. They don't have to take anything on board. They literally don't do anything for us at all. They don't represent us in any way, shape, or form. They represent the party they stand for, and that's it. So somewhere along the lines, UK democracy has become this political party machine that has nothing to do with democracy in any way, shape, or form. Does not represent the people. They don't have to. They can say whatever the fuck they want in a manifesto, and they're not legally bound to deliver on it. They can say whatever the fuck they want in the House of Commons. There is no recourse. They can completely ignore you as one of their constituents, as is their right. Like, we do not live in a democracy at all, and haven't done for a very long time. And it has the show of democracy. But as you dig deeper into everything, the only things that get passed are the things that they obviously want to pass because they're part of the 2030 agenda, which they signed up to, or David Cameron fucking signed up to in 2050. And obviously Labour was going to do it anyway, right? So because they're all part of the same global club. And they've been part of the same global club for a very long time. So that's the first part, is actually understanding that we just have no recourse at all, really. We can remove an MP if they commit a crime, and this is the big and, which is why I keep getting angry with all the influencers, they must have been suspended from the House, which means the Speaker of the House must have suspended them. And they don't do that, which is why we still got those 56 MPs who were being investigated for sexual misconduct and rape. So not even just, calling somebody a sweetheart, not that type of inappropriate conversation, actual rape was being investigated, and they were still sitting MPs, right? So we can petition. If that happens, we have to get 1,000. You have to get like 1% signed within like so many, like 4 weeks to get 1% of that constituency to say that we want this person removed, and it triggers a by-election, right? So all that happens is you then get somebody else fucking stood. So it just won't make any difference, right? It's all faux. It's faux democracy in its most disgusting form. Maybe I'm a bit more defeatist because I'm in pain. So, but I think we need to understand this, because we need to think about what we actually want to see, right? We can't demand change if we just don't know how bad it really fucking is. So then we need to make it a criminal offence for lying, basically. It has to be. That's the first part. We also have more democracy dismantling, with Lammy now trying to get rid of jury trials, right, for the vast majority of crimes, but not rape, murder, and manslaughter, right? Rape, murder, and manslaughter. Scotland, and I raised this at the time, Scotland have already trialled getting rid of jury trials for rape trials. Which is the most disgusting thing in the world, is not allowing people the opportunity to. It's not up to a judge to decide somebody's guilt. That's just not it's not the way we do things, right? And it's so disheartening for this to even be contemplated, just because of the backlog, right? You have a backlog, then you find other ways of doing it. You run the court longer. You incentivize people going to university to be lawyers and legal clerks, right? Like they do with teachers. I would have loved to have gone to university to do law. Absolutely loved it. I mean, I fell into politics, but no, I fell into psychology and then fell into politics afterwards. But that was all like I absolutely would have loved the opportunity to. But obviously, when you go to the bar, you're all kind of working for the man. But this isn't like it didn't just happen. We didn't just wake up one morning with like this 68,000 people backlog, and the vast majority of our backlog is actually because of asylum seekers who failed their claims and they're appealing. Right. So we get rid of that because they're all fucking French citizens and you kick them out of the country and it's tough shit. Also, with regards to Mahmoud's fucking immigration, you know how they were targeting the Christian countries? Well, actually, Hong Kong's going to be hit. So at no point is this actually coming back to the people who are destroying the country because they can't, because she's practicing Takea. She is lying. So getting rid of jury trials. We are the country that disseminated jury trials around the world through the Commonwealth. It is absolutely disgusting that they're even contemplating doing this. Right? I don't care which side of the fence you're on, like like politically, like or whatever crime you've done. Rightly, wrongly, you deserve something that has been embedded in our like justice system for almost 1,000 years. Right? It is not outdated in any way, shape, or form to have 12 of your peers decide whether what you did was unlawful. It is like it is insane to even consider. Like I can't even think. Imagine being the country that kind of like did this and then you don't have it. We went and told everybody else like what you're doing is inhumane. So our people in the dark ages, right? We call it the dark ages, that before they were enlightened, before we were fully civilized, before we had science, before we had technology, before we were as intelligent as we are now. And now we're at this point, we're saying, let's go become uncivilized because we're going to put one man or three judges can decide what happens. The same that happens in the fucking family courts when the children who are being abused by their fathers, who are being sold to the fucking judges, get put with the fathers and the mums end up in prison. Like we already have this in our country during the fucking family courts, which in my opinion should be disbanded. Like we should not have children that's not the stuff that should be decided behind closed doors by one judge. Like all of this shit. How can we have a free and fair society if people don't actually know what's going on? And it shouldn't just be limited to murder, manslaughter, and rape at all. Thankfully, the backlash in Scotland stopped the pilot. It doesn't mean they won't try again. So 58% of the backlog are because of rape cases. So it's not even going to do much if we're not doing it for rape, right? And they're saying it's because there's low conviction rates for rape. But there's only 3% of rape cases ever even go to court. So 97% of people who are raped, and it's predominantly women and children. So this is women and children being singled out by the justice system as not being worthwhile enough to be represented. less than 3% actually go to court, and barely any of them end up in convictions. Or if you're somebody like Hugh Edwards, you get a suspended sentence. That's what the judge decides. The judge decides the sentence. So even when the jury convicts in fucking rape cases, the judge then says, "Oh, well, you know what? Like, you just possessed category A images." So these are children being raped, taught. Like, this is penetrative rape, this is bestiality, and this is sadistic torture, right? That's what category A is. When they say category A, it's because people don't want to hear what's actually going on. This is images of children being raped by animals, being tortured, and being raped by adults. He just had it. He just possessed them. So that's okay. You can have a 6-month suspended sentence. That's not what the fucking jury decided. The jury decided he was found guilty of this horrific crime. So we want to give the judges the right to decide whether somebody's fucking guilty. At the moment, they are not putting them behind bars unless they write a fucking tweet on social media. Remember last week? I'm an extreme right-wing fucking person who needs to be I mean, this video is probably not helping me. You know, I'm high risk. I'm at no risk to members of the public in any way, shape, or form. I'm just educating people on how fucked up our country is. But people who are actually risk to women, children, other members of the public, well, there's nothing wrong with what they're doing. This is how fucked up our society is. And they want to make it easier for actual criminals to get away. Like, why else would you get rid of jury trials? Not that it fucking matters anyway. I think the jury should have more rights. Do you remember, like, it must have been years ago, I was going through the how we ended up with the laws that we ended up with. And initially, like, so it never used to be 12 peers, right? So that was brought in later, and that was 12 Henry II, who used 12 local knights. Before that point, it was the entire village would turn out. So if there was like somebody somebody was accused of a crime, the entire village would be dragged in front of the magistrate, and somebody would maybe speak on their behalf, and then other people would speak against it. But the entire village decided whether somebody was guilty or not guilty, right, based on the evidence. And then, so this is where common law comes from, and people really need to educate themselves. Right? The only reason we have common law is because we were like individual kingdoms until we became united, and they had to find a way to ensure that if you went from one town to another town, like, you could be beheaded in one town for like stealing a loaf of bread, and that was lawful back then when it was under a different kingship, but in somewhere else, you just had to pay, like, you just had to, I don't know, clean out some chickens. So that's what common law means. It means laws common to all England and Wales, right? England and Wales. That's it. That's all it means. It means that this one is common across the land now that it's united. So they created some type of uniformity, and they decided these laws were going to be crown capital based offences, which would always be overseen by the crown, i.e. these are the indictable offences. These are rape, murder, kidnap, torture, terrorism, treason, anything where you don't need a warrant in order to arrest someone. You do still need suspicion. Obviously, in terrorism under Section 7, you don't even need suspicion. You just decide somebody's a terrorist. But that's only ports and borders. Everywhere else, you need to make sure that you have suspicion, but you don't need a warrant, right? So if you see somebody kidnapping somebody on the street, you don't need to apply for a warrant in order to kind of intervene. And you can detain a kidnapper as a citizen. Like, we can make arrests, right? This is the other thing that we forget, right? So we may not be wearing police uniforms, but under PACE, we are lawfully allowed to make arrests. We anything that is non-indictable, you must apply to a court first for a warrant in order to do XYZ. So if you have suspicion that I'm committing fraud, you couldn't just kind of like storm in and get my bank information. You would have to apply to a court. You would have to meet the threshold. So if the jury is removed, we lose the opportunity to hold rogue judges account. Like we lose the power. Like we literally are eroding every single citizen power that we have, like every single fucking month. Like the whole point of the jury trial is to protect against tyrannical judges. And that is what we literally see judges taking the law into their own hands and deciding where they're going to apply it or not apply it. And we've been what? So you think we've got two-tier policing? How easy is it to do two-tier fucking jury? Like I just, it would take one tweet. I would be arrested, charged, and convicted and sentenced with no way to fight my own case for a tweet. What, get like 3 years in prison? And even if it wasn't malicious, like, or I didn't do what I mean, and like, it wouldn't matter if I pled not guilty. I wouldn't get my day in court. But I wouldn't get my day in court that mattered. Like, because the judge would just decide already, like, you're a terrorist. That's it. Basically doesn't matter what you say because I'm just going to decide already. I'm paid by whoever. I don't understand why people aren't more just disgusted by it all. It doesn't matter whether we got Labour or Conservative or whoever in power. Like, this is just so fucking dangerous. So dangerous. And especially as they're trying to get rid of the Human Rights Act as it stands, they're trying to reintroduce the Bill of Rights again. And again, it will still hand everything over to Europe. So we won't even have, like, it won't even be our own courts that are deciding what's going on, right? It will be Europe. And that kind of feeds in my personal view. They are dismantling all of the 3 main political parties to put the UK into turmoil so that Europe can sweep in and look after us, which is what they wanted originally, right? A European version of the United States of America where they are in charge, right? We've got they've got our military already. We pay in and they do that. They already decided all the laws when they weren't supposed to, when we were part of the EU as it was. We're now paying billions to them to access anything. Like, they already own us, right? This just would be easier for them to control us completely by completely blocking any right we have to overturn shitty laws, right? Which is what we do with jury nullification. So this would disappear. So if you're not sure, if you've never heard of jury nullification, it basically means that the jurors can return a verdict of not guilty, even if they believe the person is guilty of the crime, but they don't believe the law has been applied as it should, right? So it's also called jury equity or a perverse verdict. So you basically, so just rejecting the application of the law in that case. And what that can lead to, right? Because it's that would then set precedents. So if somebody did XYZ and they're found not guilty of the law they've been charged with, then anybody else who does the exact same thing would be able to use that case as proof, right? So basically it nullifies the law being applied in that way because there's precedent set. And UK judges, they tell the juries, you must apply the law as though it's been set. And that's what jurors would, that's what Judges would do, but the law is XYZ. And I do kind of agree with that, right? The law is this. You didn't do it, you're guilty. Fine. But if the law's a shit law, then we have to have some power to stop it. Because, you used to be fucking put in prison for being a homosexual. Until the 80s, it was fine for you to rape your wife. So those are shit laws. The people of the land can say, this might be the law, but this person's not guilty. Like, you are applying it in a way that we do not accept as the people of the United Kingdom. So we've got famous cases of 1985 acquittal of Clive Ponting, who was a civil servant who leaked the Falklands War documents. So he admitted the offence, and the jury said that the Official Secrets Act was unjust in that context. Right, that's what the we've had climate protests, juries have acquitted activists such as Extinction Rebellion by rejecting liability laws under the Police Crime Sentencing Courts Act 2022. I don't agree with Extinction Rebellion. And I just think I don't believe, but that I think that's I agree with the premise. If they just happen to find the right jurors, right? So without that, the only thing we can do is a judicial review. And I don't know any kind of general working class people who've got like about £50,000 in their back pocket to pay for a judicial review. You are arguing a decision to apply the law was unlawful, irrational, or procedurally unfair, right? That's it. 5% of judicial review applications reach a full hearing. Of those, around 35 to 40% are successful, but only 4 to 5% of actual cases that are lodged ever win, which is why somebody like the Good Law Project, and I call them out a lot, is they are literally earning money by they take money from the public. It's a left-leaning organization. They take money from the public saying they're going to fight this thing in judicial review. They go to judicial review, and 90% of the time they actually lose, right? 95% of cases lose. And then the taxpayers who pay fucking Good Law Project then pay the government all this money and pay for the government's court costs. And these are show trials. This is exactly what Stalin did. This is exactly what the Nuremberg trials were. It's all fake. It's fake judiciary. It also doesn't overturn laws. The only way to do that is to use the Human Rights Act, and that's what they're getting rid of. So we are losing every single opportunity to lawfully fight because they are pushing for civil war and obviously pushing for a totalitarian state, right? At the moment, they can't do all these things, but they're pushing and deleting things. Go back to parish councils, county councils, maintain and police and get our own districts and get rid of Westminster altogether. I mean, so Cornwall has just become a devolved council, right? A devolved nation. So Cornwall separated, stepped away. We are a very strong nation when we are united, because we are in a unique position that we are very well educated as a nation. I mean, until recently, you have to ignore recent years, right? Overall, we are a very well educated nation. It's while some of our history has been tweaked, if you think about what we know compared to what America knows, because we have, like, you can just go to Kew Gardens, you can go to the National Archives, you can, and we have this almost 1,000 years worth of democracy embedded into everything. We're really fucking dangerous as a united kingdom, which is why they're pushing Ireland to be united under one Ireland. It's why they made it very difficult after Brexit for anything to kind of like cross the border from the United Kingdom, from Britain to Ireland, which is why they're pushing the Indie referendum again in Scotland, which is why they're pushing and they devolved into Wales, right? So they are every single step of the way trying to say, well, this is why we have the mayors coming. Is what it does is it turns us from one united kingdom, a very powerful and potential entity, which held back 2 world wars, because we obviously had the Commonwealth, right? So not only are we being stripped of, and I'm not saying we should be in charge of like other countries at all, right? I agree that people should be allowed to, you know, if you're in Africa, I don't think you should be controlled by the United Kingdom anymore. Fine, go and be sovereign, but don't expect any fucking reparations, because all the shit that you have it because we paid into your country. Like, let's not forget the reason why India has fucking trains, has hospitals, has all of that shit is because we funded them to the tune of billions upon billions of billions when we went over and upgraded shit. Right? That, and you know, we funded it, they funded it. It was a joint effort. The country's better, and then we gave it back to them. We don't owe you any more fucking money. So fine, take it. Be independent. Good for you. And again, with Africa, like we said last week, you want trillions? Like, what have you done with 100 billion we've already given you? Where's that gone? But we have, and this is why getting rid of the jury trials is so dangerous. We have democracy embedded into the bones of this country. And this is why we have, this is why I get so angry at America. Because every single one of their podcasts, you know, we are the freedom fighters, we're the ones who are saving. Like, you are not saving anybody. You don't even understand what's going on in the world. You literally don't even know the rest of the world exists, or you have no fucking idea about anything at all, and you have never stopped anything at all. Yes, you came and helped in the last, your bodies came in the last 6 months or so of like the world wars, right? You kind of like rocked up. And in the First World War, by the way, America, just so you know, you didn't have any fucking weapons, you didn't have anything. You rocked up with bloody wooden pretend guns that we had to fucking give you everything. You didn't have anything. And then even in World War II, you didn't have anything. You had to use our stuff, and then you pumped loads of money and you started creating stuff, and then you fucking bankrupted us. So you just, they have this constitution, this Bill of Rights, and they don't use it, like, at all. They have Trump in power. Are going to give back the power to the people. What the fuck are they doing with that power? I've literally, over the last 35 episodes, laid out how fucked we are as a nation, and look at what we've done. And that's, like, we are fucked as a nation, but the people of the United Kingdom have been fighting tyrannical governments for thousands of years, right? We had one of the kings beheaded, executed. We've stripped the royal family of the power, right? We will do the exact same thing to Parliament, and we will get it back, right? Because it's in our bones to be free. And America, for all of their we are freedom, like, you were convicts, the same as Australia. That's where you came from, right? And I'm not knocking convict stock, right? But you were transported. You didn't fight for freedom. You didn't all decide one day, let's just let's rock up to Dover from England. Like, you didn't kind of convene in a tavern and decide we're going to escape and into America. You were fucking taken over on boats because you were criminals, and you were taken over on boats by fucking the elite class from the United Kingdom, and you were planted and you were put to work. And then the elite also decided, I don't want to fucking pay the king anymore. And they raised an army and fought against the king, right? It wasn't the bread and butter people, right? You didn't round up everybody and overthrow the elite in your country, at all. That's they've got such a warped perception of what really happened, and they have this ideology that they are the freedom fighters, and they do fuck all. America isn't going to save anyone because there's only 3 years left, and once Trump's out, the world's fucked again. And so they have to dismantle the United Kingdom because it's embedded in our laws and applied. And the people in the United Kingdom are used to getting their pitchforks and going, do you know what? Fuck this shit. I'm not having it anymore. And when people were moved from the United Kingdom and transported to Australia, which is still a prison colony, right? And transported to America, they still got the feudal system over there. They were they weren't in any different state to us. They just no longer pay the king any money, but you still fucking how I don't understand how they think they're freer than everybody else in the world. I really don't. They can they haven't. They're in the same fucked up mess we are, with the elites running the show, the fucking judges being assholes. And they don't even have the same rights that we do, yet they do have them on paper. They're just not using them. They have more rights than we do on paper. But they're not using them, and they're not using them even though they've got somebody in office who is trying to get them off their asses and doing something. It just... they just want one man to fix everything. But how is that not making Trump a king, right? They say we don't have kings. You literally expecting one man to fix that. At least people in the United Kingdom go, our fucking royals are absolute cunts. We know our politicians are disgusting. And even the people who kind of think Nigel Farage is going to do something potentially good, actually they have faith in the local reform people, and they're obviously going to get a shock when they realize it's the same old, right? But the sheer volume of Americans who believe, oh well, we've got a Republican, you do know that there's still the same people who are scum, right? Who are raping children. No, literally yesterday they weren't, today yesterday they were, today they're not. I know every single one in... So they have to. The fact that they've just allowed Cornwall to separate means it's they're not splitting up America. That's how threatening America is. They don't care. They're making it America, Canada, and South America, right? That's the wasn't it North Atlantic or whatever they were trying to do. You don't give more power to an the only reason the British Empire was able to do the British Empire was because we were united under Scotland, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and England. Sorry, we couldn't have done it if we were just fucking Telford. But I mean, Westminster's technically irrelevant anyway, because most of the stuff. So most of the stuff's done locally already, and people aren't active in their local communities anyway. But could you imagine, like, if we went back to what we were? Like, I would need a passport to go 30 minutes down the road because I would be going into a different nation. Like, we're not like America where there's like hundreds of miles in between, right? I wouldn't be able to go. I'd have to go go through 2 borders to see my dad, and he's like 40 mile away. I'd have to get my passport out to see my mum, who's like 30 mile away. Like, our country runs, like, our entire infrastructure is like north to south, right? So you can go from, what is it, Land's End to John O'Groats in less than 24 hours, straight the way through. Like, our entire, like, can you imagine getting something from Dover up to Liverpool if every single county was now its own devolved nation? Like, the country would be a gridlocked shit show. Like, we can't even get a fucking motorway working when it's all one like fucking M6, and you're not even going through border. Like, we couldn't physically, like, it would be like, it would be horrendous, but it would be really easy to do these 15-minute cities. Because you'd have everything that you ever needed in your little 15-minute city. And you'd be forced to be in your little 15-minute city because you're only allowed how many trips? Your carbon tax. And like, like, yeah. If you were in a Labour-held area, like, and you were like next to an independent area that's got its shit together, like, you couldn't move because there wouldn't be it wouldn't be the housing. Britain's not. Britain's a trade agreement between Scotland, England, and Wales. So when we're talking about like trade, and that's like, English is just England. So when you're talking about Britain, so United Kingdom is England, Northern Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. It's a trade agreement. Wales and Scotland and England is Britain. It's and it's been like that since the 1800s. So you might be English. I'm not English. I'm English Irish. But Britain, as the trading nation, we had King James the second, no, King James the first of Scotland, and first of England, sixth of Wales, sixth of Scotland, right? So like for hundreds of years, we've been joint nations, ruled jointly. But I'm not saying you're not English, but I'm just saying as a nation, Britain, and as a nation, the United Kingdom is even stronger. So if you want to then devolve England into towns and cities, like, that's even worse. Like, I was against devolution because we lose our power the smaller we become. Could you imagine, like, your fucking town going up against the EU? Like, what, there's 170,000 people in Telford. What, we were to become like our own little fucking island? Like, how Like, if you've never been, go to a council meeting and then see whether you want them fuckwits in charge of deciding your representation on a world stage, right? But that might not be what you're saying, but that's what people are pushing for. Like, Cornwall's just done it. That's what they're creating with the mayorships, is they are creating devolved entities inside England. That's where we are going, because they have to. And that's why Wales are trying to get away. That's why Scotland are trying to get away. And they are devolving England into Manchester and as its own independent, devolved state under its mayoralship. That's what's happening. Can you imagine, like, Telford going up against London? With all of London's already infrastructure, because it's been like that for a long time. But we'd get nothing. We get nothing now, right? But it's kind of like they pretend we get stuff now. It's just they're just screwing us over. Left, right, and centre. I was asking about the magic wheel stuff, and supposedly it definitely doesn't happen in the United Kingdom, but and if it did happen, it's unlawful. Like, we literally supposedly have laws in place to stop that shit. And actually, under GDPR and data protection, they're not allowed to scrape the social media accounts and stuff beforehand. But again, because that would be you'd have to get a warrant to do that, like to access people's information if there wasn't a crime. So we do have something, but they're obviously trying to get rid of all of that to just, because if you have well, I mean, there's no need for it if you've just got a judge doing it all. Okay. The Russian boomerang nobody saw coming, right? So we've just had the ex-Welsh Reform leader, Nathan Gill, right? He was former leader of Reform UK in Wales and an ex-MEP for UKIP and the Brexit Party. So on the 21st of November, he was sentenced at the Old Bailey to 10 years and 6 months in prison after pleading guilty to 8 counts of bribery under the Bribery Act. He accepted £40,000 in cash from Oleg Volshin, a pro-Russian Ukrainian politician linked to Vladimir Putin's ally, Viktor Medvedchuk. And he accepted the money between 2018 and 2019. And in exchange, he made scripted pro-Russian statements in the European Parliament, downplaying Russians' aggression in Ukraine, right? And if he was doing this in 2018, 2019, so if we have 2014 is when they kind of faked the election. Then we had, the Ukrainians setting fire to people in the Crimea, burning. They literally burnt all those people alive in that hotel, I believe it was. So this is, this is when Russia annexed Crimea. Well, literally, they had an election and decided we don't want to be part of Ukraine anymore. We want to be part of Russia. Kind of what's going to try and do in the UK, right? We don't want to be part of you anymore. We want to be somewhere else. But obviously, Russia was getting stronger. Then. So this was being investigated. He was being investigated as part of a broader Russian influence operation and investigated by counter-terrorism case by the Metropolitan Police. So obviously they're investigating Russia. They're not going to investigate anybody else, but Russia. So this is why this is the boomerang. This is the first conviction under the Bribery Act for a politician in such context, right? So remember, we've had politicians in the past who've been given cases of cash. We have, we had Charles getting a fucking, what was it, briefcase full of cash from the Saudi princes. So our politicians and elite just get money. But this is the first time a politician has been convicted under the Bribery Act. So whether so the fact that they've done it for reform, like this is the same dumb shit the Democrats did in America. We're going to arrest you and we're going to prosecute you under these crimes. Okay. Wait till it's our turn. For some actual crimes. I'm not saying what he did wasn't an actual crime, but I'm just now it's precedent. And this is what is beautiful about our justice system, is if you are going to attempt to politicize it, then you best be prepared what comes back. So accepting foreign bribes to influence policy or statements is a serious criminal offence with maximum penalties up to 10 years, right? Which is what he got, 10 years. So not only is he being convicted under the Bribery Act, he also got the maximum sentence. Again, set precedent. So if somebody else does X, Y, Z, then the law should do the exact same thing. That's what judges are supposed to do, right? Well, okay, well, we now have case law, so precedence has been set. So bearing in mind, we are owned by China, Vanguard, BlackRock, the Saudis, all of those other countries I listed off earlier. I didn't list Israel. However, we do have the Friends of Israel group. So we have Conservative Friends of Israel, CFI, and Labour Friends of Israel, LFI. Now, in America, you have APAC, which is classed as domestic lobby, not registered as a foreign lobby. And pretty sure what I was watching a podcast with John Kiriakou, who I really rate. I really like that guy. He was saying that pretty much every single member of Congress is signed up to AIPAC. And there's one member of Congress who actually fought for 2 years in the Israeli Defense League. And I was like, wait a minute, what? Can you imagine serving in a foreign military? I mean, that's insane. Anyway, so they in the UK, similarly, not labelled as foreign lobbying because they're based in the United Kingdom. So funded by British, but often Jewish, according to Grok. I would say like Jewish, like, because everybody else is going to be like Friends of Israel, like it's going to be Jewish donors. Obviously doesn't mean you're like anti-Jewish. Let's just do facts and facts. If it was a Chinese lobby, then they're going to be Chinese donors. They operate transparently under UK lobbying rules, supposedly. They fund trips, donations, and candidate support, which is we've seen the Israel lobby do lots in the UK. So CFI has around 80% of Tory MPs as members. So 130 of the Conservatives in 2024 are getting money from Conservative Friends of Israel. 75 Labour MPs with strong ties to the shadow cabinet under Keir Starmer are also aligned with Labour Friends of Israel. And they've still been funding trips. So we had so I've been thinking about the whole, when we decided to make it, Palestine, and we recognized them as a state, and what happened afterwards, right? So it happened straight after Trump came. And there's the whole thing with regards to saving Israel for last. And I can't help but think that was a forced move that our MPs didn't want to do, but were made to do it. And I can't figure out why. Right? But I mean, they did it, remember they did it on one of the was it Jewish New Year? Like, it was really fucked up when they did it. I'm sure it was Jewish New Year, day after Trump had left, and it doesn't make sense when you look into who's actually part of the Conservative Friends of Israel, unless we've had lots of Epstein stuff released. We've had the Eid Mubarak emails released. What if Israel actually doesn't have the influence that they used to have? And that was the big fuck you to Netanyahu. But not doing it openly in America because of the AIPAC, which would just, I mean, obviously, look how many times they've tried to assassinate Trump already anyway. It's really strange. (128 MP, so 28% of Parliament received pro-Israel funding in 2024. And obviously, there's still of them saying, you know, we shouldn't have recognised Palestine and stuff like that. But if 80% of MPs are getting Israel, like, it just, it's so, it's really confusing. So with LFI, it says that they support the two-state solution, but obviously pro-Israel. But Israel wants to destroy them. Do you see? Anyway, so we're talking about Russia, and but there are so being funded by. So I don't. What's the difference between bribery and lobbying? Right? If somebody's a conservative friends of Israel being paid by them and then are saying nice things about Israel, how is that not the same as what Gil just did? How is his bribery and there's lobbying? Like, who makes that distinction? Because the MP's only job is to represent their constituents. I'm not in Israel. I don't give a fuck what they're doing over there. I mean, I think it's bad, but they're over there, right? It's not my concern what's going on over there. And I don't think any other country should be concerned with what's going on in another country. This is why we're in this fucked up state in anyway. But we also have MI5, remember, saying about Russia and China and Iran are huge concerns. China, we say 250 billion we owe them debt. They're just building their fucking Starmer's going ahead with the embassy despite the fact that MI5 saying it's a big fucking threat. So there's got to be some bribery around there. Who knows what, when, where, and why. So 15 MPs and 6 peers were sanctioned as part of that Russia probe, but only the Reform MP went to prison and appeared in court for it, right? So if I was him and his legal team, I would be demanding the other 15 MPs and the 6 peers in the House of Lords also go to prison. Like, how is that like justice applied blindly? Like, who are those other 15 MPs who are probably still, are they still in Parliament, or have they just randomly stepped down? Like, £1 million worth of £1 million plus has been gifted for China. How's that not bribery? In Iran, 15 people have been kidnapped and/or murder plots since 2022. They which is letting these people into the country, right? So what Russia and China do is the same as what Israel are doing, but Israel have just registered as a fucking lobby group. So we just have to prove. So it says here it has to. The next thing is to make MPs with foreign ties. Any foreign ties, it's instantly disqualified, regardless of which foreign tie it is. I don't care whether you're being paid by Elon Musk or fucking Netanyahu or Calamini. I don't care who it is. If you are being paid by somebody outside of the UK and or you're being paid by Bill and Melinda Gates, for example, have got no right being in Parliament because we pay you to be in Parliament. That's what the taxpayers' money's for. Like, we pay you to represent us. Somebody else is paying you and probably paying you a hell of a lot more than what we're paying you. Then your loyalty doesn't lie to the people in the United Kingdom, regardless of whether you are, Westminster has a representation of everybody from the United Kingdom. Because that's where the money comes from, right? It comes from, like, people in England pay everybody else. However, it was nice to find out in National Security Act 2023, FIRS, launched in the 1st of July 2025. So it's only just started because the grace period finished in October. So we've got a really nice potential law. So they must register arrangements where a foreign power directs lobbying or comms. So that's MPs and elections. And it's a criminal offence if they don't. So now we are kind of through to December. We have a potential lawful way to remove people. And obviously this is they're pushing like, oh, Elon Musk shouldn't be involved, right? That's who everybody's paying attention to. Then there is an enhanced tier, Russia or Iran only. Funnily enough, China, the biggest threat, according to MI5, is not part of the enhanced tier. Iran being part of the enhanced tier, and we still allow them through the door, right, through the border. So any influence operation, but let's not forget Iran has been funding lots of fucking bot-related shit, lots of hacks, lots of espionage. And China hacked the fucking Electoral Commission. They hacked the they hacked something else recently. And the Electoral Commission was earlier this year for the registered voters. I reckon they probably took that to find their own people. That's what they tend to do, don't they? They want to find their own people so that they can go and fucking round and back up again. But Iran has been pushing, obviously, jihadi-based terrorism, funding that, pushing pro-Palestinian shit, funding that. There are exemptions, though. Obviously, if you're a lawyer or a news publisher or a diplomat, it doesn't matter. So basically, the BBC can still get paid by Russia, Iran, and China, and it'd be fine. And it's all referred via the Home Office and the police. So CFI, so Israel isn't even mentioned, right? Because that's how much influence they actually have. It's not even mentioned. So as soon as they have undisclosed foreign direction, it is a crime. And there are pushes to make the Electoral Commission take it back out. It shouldn't be under the government. It should be separate. So if you have a suspicion, you contact police or MI5. It's an immediate timeline impact, triggers investigation. And Gill was investigated via a tip-off, right? So spies in reform. And I'm not saying he was right, but I would hazard a guess there's probably lots of shit happening in the other parties, but they've just got a better handle on it. Bearing in mind, I've told you before, like Labour go around fucking like rocking up at people's houses in force in the middle of the night and threatening to burn down the house with them in it unless they vote the way that they need them to vote. And that's how they behave. With going back to what you were saying earlier, Linda, that's how they behave at the parish level. Like that's where you get like actual thugs. And council level. And then they get elected to the MP, but they are fucking thugs first. Obviously, we can do a petition. Lobby your MP. That's not going to work in any way, shape, or form. And then we can vote them out. Just bullshit. So the precedent from Gill strengthens tools against covert influence, but overt lobbies like CFI, LFI need political will to reform. So we will have to push for it. But I think we can. I think they haven't quite realised. I don't think anybody realises or pays attention. Because obviously they're now using this as like, oh, reform the criminals. And you're like, oh yeah, but what about all the fucking paedophiles in your camp that are criminals that everybody's ignoring? Because that's what happens, right? I just I'm fed up with the hypocrisy. But like I say, I'm definitely more frustrated today, thanks to the old pain. Let me just drop this petition again. I don't know. I might have all the people I need so far. I don't know. Well, it'll tell you if it says you can't do it, and you know there has been 21 so far. Just keep your eyes on it. Hopefully they'll let us do it. People are demanding a general election. This is how retarded people in the United Kingdom are. Demanding a general election. What's that going to do? Like nothing. Like reform are being paid by the same fucking people. Our people are dumb. Like we have access to actual information, and our people are dumb as well. I'm probably not feeling my chubbiest. I just can see how they are barreling ahead, and everybody's just fucking slow. Like everybody's just walking into the gas chambers. And by demanding devolution in England, like getting rid of. I'm like, oh my God, please. The only reason I voted to stay part of the EU was because of the power in the larger group. That was it. Because I'd been in fucking around the politicians who were rocking up to Westminster, but also being around the parish councillors and the town councillors, and they are corrupt from the minute they fucking get elected. I mean, I wasn't, which is why I fucking walked away, which is why all the good people leave. Like, nobody goes from parish to town to fucking Westminster without being corrupt, because you can't. Any normal, empathetic human absolutely, genuinely despairs at what's happening. And even people working inside the council. So we talk about the civil service and all the shit that goes on in Whitehall and like central government. They could go and work it for a council. It's disgusting what goes on there. And you can't do anything about it there. I know someone who was bullied out of their role in a council because they were Jewish, and the rest of the council members were, left psychopaths with different races who were overtly anti-Semitic and all about freeing Palestine. So much so that this other individual was harassed and bullied, and then left, tried to sue, and was told that everything, but they all got dragged out, destroyed, character destroyed. Just I know loads of people who've worked for council. I mean, I told this particular individual, I said, don't do it. Don't do it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. You're a normal human. It's not your mum didn't get you the job, and you aren't born and bred in institutions. You came from, you've got quite a good background of working in the private sector. Just don't do it. Same as I was a governor in a primary school. I've seen how they run schools. You have the entire every single one of our institutions needs to be pulled down. Not a single one of them are fit for purpose in any way, shape, or form. And it's not just the people that are inside them; they are designed to be that way. I mean, everybody needs to be sacked for a start. Absolutely. And we need AI to do fucking risk assessments on the people. I think we should use AI to do profiling on individuals who are working in our public institutions. And not a single person who's working in a public institution would have a job. I don't believe in any way, shape, or form, because I've met them. They do not understand how to run a piss up in a brewery, let alone manage millions of pounds and protect people. You might have a nice person who wants to, say, be a social worker, right? I want to look after, I want to, help children who are struggling. That's cool. Your manager's got no fucking idea how to manage you or manage anything or understand anything, because chances are she's a manager because she was a shit social worker, but she was best mates with somebody else, so she got a promotion. This is what happened. This is how our public institutions are run. And if you're looking at schools, the head teacher and the chair of governors will be best mates. And so if you have a problem inside the school, you go to the teacher, and if you don't get what you need from the teacher, you then have to go to the head teacher. If you don't get what you want from them, you then have to go to the governors, and you've got best mate, right? That's how it happens in 99% of the schools. The police is the same. Right? The good people do not last in the public institutions. They all go to private. That's why the country is a shit show. Because you got fucking idiots who are in it for themselves, who are in it for the pension, who are in it for the power. Psychopathic individuals who are in it for the power. That's it. I have never met a career public official who wasn't in it for the power. well, they don't move up the ranks. Okay, so they don't move up the ranks because they won't do it. And both my mum and dad were public servants. And they didn't move up the ranks because they kept going, "Oh, this shit's really wrong. We need to sort this out. We can't do that. We really shouldn't be doing that. I'm pretty sure that's against the law. But I don't think we should be doing that. Oh, I've just been demoted. Oh, okay, thanks." I mean, my mum and dad are stubborn. My mum, very stubborn. So she refused to be sidelined. Just, but they brainwash you. My big sister, spoke about her before. Like, you know, she was a normal human. Then she retrained and became a secondary school teacher. Within 6 months, she's a psychopathic lefty. Insane. Considering she does history teaching, that going into secondary school, she understood the fact that communism and socialism, they don't fucking work and they kill everybody. Within 6 months, she was telling me I was a Nazi, and I was just like, well, you know, I'm not left, but all right then, Sal. And that, you know, communism is a good thing. All right. Like, what happened in 6 months? I just the entire again, yes, I'm the threat. Oh, it's just silly. It is silly, but I think we just need to, and it can be depressing if you look at it like from the actual realities of the uphill battle we have. But unless we know this, like, you can't, like, if for some reason everybody seems to think, you know, we'll get reform in and then that's fine. Like, I mean, one, reformer stooges as well, right? But again, like, I mean, and this is what's happened in America. Trump's in, we're fine now, but like you're not, because those institutions are still there, still being run the same way. Like one man or one woman doesn't have unilateral totalitarian control in a democracy or in a republic. I mean, if we became like North Korea, and then you had a really good person in control of everything, you might be all right. But then, you know, their son or daughter, and it's going to be passed. That's where royal families came from. But now, so it's the same. You have to have the institutions have to be set up for working for the people, regardless of who's in control, and every single institution has been bastardized and subverted because we're like thousands of years old, and you have corrupt individuals breeding and planting people, like, so it's a lot bigger. But we're powerful as a United Kingdom, and I think it's really sad. And then also, you know, I like Steve Homeland Party guy, but I'll need to be deported. I don't want to go to, where do I go? Where do I go? I don't want to go to I don't want to go to Ireland. I don't know anybody in Ireland. I don't belong here. I'm like half and half. Like the Warburton's bread. What about my brother's kids? Like, what happens to them? What are they like? Well, have they got to go to Jamaica or Ireland, or did they get to stay in England because they're a third? Like, it's I don't care who comes to this country. If you want to be part of what British culture is, right? Because we have been I mean, I don't there's not a United Kingdom culture. There is, because it's hundreds of years of collective history with slight tweaks of the way that laws are applied above on the different borders, right? And you know, Scotland has its history. It's fine. England has its history. It's kind of been ignored quite a lot, and it should be revived. But overall, we do have some collective values, i.e., don't rape children. I think that's a pretty good fucking collective value. We have, you know, they are Christian-based principles that are embedded to the way that we, you know, the stiff upper lip. That was England, Scotland, and Wales. You know, fighting for the rights of you as an individual. They did that well in Scotland. I mean, I don't know what Wales ever did. I'm just gonna throw that out there. What did Wales do? I don't. I mean, they just got overtaken. Is it like Wales is like France of Europe, the country that just gets invaded the most? I mean, so let's be honest. If Wales do have like the backtrack to the oldest generation of people who are in the British Isles, but the Scots are Irish. Like that's the Picts. They literally came from Ireland. So, like it's the Scots are Irish, and every time the Scottish people are, I want to get my DNA done. But you know, the Scots are like, "Oh, wow, I've got all this Irish DNA," and I was like, "Oh my god, do you not even, like, know your fucking history?" Like, nobody knows nobody reads anymore. Nobody like, you don't even need to read, you just fucking ask. Did I say last week I was watching those Iranians and stuff do their DNA? I think I did, didn't I? And they were like, "Oh my god, we're like," and they like, they were all Jewish. And they kind of like ignored the fact that they were Jewish and be like, "Oh, look, I've got like 3% African." Yeah, but you got like 60% of all these three different types of Jewishness in your family. But yeah, let me guess, like about to start singing River to the Sea. Right, but you're killing you, right? If you think all Jews need to die, you're ethnically Jewish. Which means your mitochondria, the way that Judaism works, if your mother's Jewish, you're Jewish. So if you've got Jewish mitochondrial DNA, sorry to be the bearer of bad news. So I'm fucking ginger. Okay, so I don't think of that. It's not, I think it just looks more ginger on camera. Anyway, so let's not get depressed, because I do believe there is hope, and it is all about frequency, it is all about energy, it is all about having the information attached to the energetic superhighway. I do believe lots of things are going on in the background, with the fact that Israel, you know, if we just look at Israel and what Trump did, you know, they threatened to use nuclear weapons on Iran and start World War III, saying that we have to defend ourselves, right? So obviously they needed to spark something to say, well, we're not going. So Trump like took that off the board. So I do believe. And I also believe we have good people in, you know, MI5, MI6, in the National Crime Agency. I do believe that we have an opportunity. I just can't stop hearing Tor's voice. We can't tell you, I have to show you. And actually, one of her very early podcasts, the statement along the lines of pretty much like us being completely enslaved, like properly. Like we're pretty fucking close to being like, I mean, we still have wiggle room, right? We still have some rights. Has been blocked multiple times by small elite little groups. And the predictive analytics proved unless you get people to wake up and do it, this was like the breaking point, right? Which is why we're kind of having to have it now. I mean, the thing that terrified me was when she was saying, well, if it happens too quickly, we're completely fucked, which means we have to slow walk it. And we are at war. And while I don't want people to die, and I didn't want people to die in COVID, don't want people to die abroad. I don't want anybody to die, right? Who don't agree with murder or anything like that. But if that has to happen to ensure humanity's survival, then it has to happen. We all have to die at some point. And in a war, you have to make a decision. You have to go greater good. And I'm glad I'm not one of the people making that decision, because I developed empathy now. I would have been fine before, right? I would absolutely be on the bad side, 100%, because I know people, right? If I didn't have any empathy, I wouldn't care. That's the point. Like, I genuinely wouldn't give a shit. I'd be like, well, tough shit. You're a cunt anyway. Who cares? Whereas now I think, well, you know, freedom of choice and all of that. So, as it's the 1st of December, let's not roll into 2026, right? Because that's what's coming up, 2026, right? We don't want to roll into 2026 feeling like 2020. Oh, thank you. I've got all 5 supporters already. Whoop, whoop. It doesn't tell me who's done it, but thank you very much. Oh. So, where's my thing? Where's my thing? Oh man, I closed. Oh, that was silly of me. Do you remember when I was trying to find out how many schools there were? I didn't open a new tab. I just bollocks. 2 secs. It's not a note per se, but it's a specific thing that I want to read out. I want to do something kind of cohesively. I think that's going to help you more. Then we'll get random nonsense after. But here we go. So we've got 30 days. Is it 30 days in December? But I'm just going to pretend. Pretty sure it's 30. 31. We get an extra day, right? 31 days. You can do that on your knuckles, can't you? Like January something, February, March, April, May, June. And like the ones that are on your knuckle are 31. The ones that are inside are 30. But then also, you know, obviously February is just kind of like a weird one or something. Yeah, don't trust me. I'm not. But there's something about that. I don't know what it is, which is why I've never used it, right? So we get 31 days, right, to turn 2025. If your 2025 has been going a bit wonky, you have an opportunity to ensure that you don't walk into 2026 with full-on regret. So last year, I already mentioned at the beginning that my 2024 was really not a good year. I mean, this year's been a very full-on year with family-based medical complications. Okay. But I've still achieved things this year. Last year was a very turbulent year and it kind of just derailed everything. However, I say everything. In the last 2 weeks of 2024, I completely transformed everything so that 2025 was set up to be the phenomenal year that it had been, right? Which is why I rocked up starting my podcast again. I've been blogging again, I've been doing all of those things. This is why I'm fucking exhausted. Like away for a week. I say a week off over Christmas. I'm just not like working with clients or anything over Christmas. So first thing you need to do is sit back, like, so don't wait until the 31st to do your 2025 review. I want you to do it like in the next, I mean, please don't do it like now if you're UK time, because if you've been here for 2 hours and 20 minutes, like you need to do something fun after this shit. But maybe you kind of plan half an hour to do it tomorrow. It's earliest possible opportunity. Figure out, sit down and look at your entire year. Was there anything, even just one thing that you decided in January you were going to do, going to achieve, going to move towards, and start from that one thing. So was there one thing I wanted to do that I've achieved? And then like spend some time looking into that one thing. So for example, for me, one thing I wanted to do was restart blogging. So I would be like, okay, well, I said I wanted to blog. When did I start blogging? Well, this Wednesday will be like my 18th blog post. I mean, and podcasting. This is my 35th episode. And so, okay, so then I can, backtrack because I don't keep very good records. I don't. It's funny. I've got like Sintra AI and it keeps saying, hey, we can organize. And I was like, no, there's no point doing that because I might do it for once and then I'm just not going to do it again. So let's just not bother. Let's not. So I'll be like, okay, well, I'm blogging. What have I covered? I may look at the number of people who've downloaded the podcast version, the number of people who have commented, number of people, like what are people are saying, what are people getting out of it? Are people finding it useful or am I just getting fucking slated? Either way, like any publicity. Thankfully, I'm not getting slated. Off my blogs, I've been invited to guest post, and one of them's got like hundreds of thousands of, so for me, if you kind of weren't here before, like I had a very successful business, COVID destroyed it, and then I was blacklisted. So literally just didn't want to start again. I'd fed up. But I have, right? Just they will not destroy me, as they say. Okay, so I'd be like, okay, well now, it's taken like 18 weeks actually it took like 11 weeks to be invited. I haven't put any money behind any of these things. I've just been noticed because I spent many years figuring out SEO, all of that stuff I can now just use really quickly. I'm not saying if you start blogging in 11 weeks, you're going to get somebody invite you to do a blog. I was a Huffington Post contributor. I was featured in OK magazine. I was in the national press. So I'd already done the trench work to figure out how to do these things. And now I can just do it really quickly. It's not hard, by the way. Okay, so I want you to do like one thing. And when you start investigating that one thing, then think about your next one thing. As you start doing it, you will start realizing just how much you've achieved, right? Rather than kind of looking at, I wanted to do this one big thing that I didn't achieve. So if we are stressed and struggling, we won't see the things that we've achieved and we've succeeded at. So first, kind of look over the big things that you said you wanted. Ignore the stuff that you haven't done yet. We don't need to delve into that yet. First up, just look at all the things that you've done that you wanted to. Maybe you've only just started it. Maybe it's not completed, but maybe you did the first thing today. Who knows? Once you've done that, get into the habit of listing 3 things in the morning that you want to achieve by the end of the night, right? You're going to see like a mass like action in whatever area of life it is you're fixing. Maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's your health, maybe so maybe it's your physical health. Maybe you're going to decide, I'm going to eat 1 piece of fruit a day because I haven't eaten a piece of fruit in like 3 weeks. I don't eat very much fruit. I only like dried fruit. I broke my dehydrator. That sucks. I don't eat much vegetables and I never did. So going like 80% carnivore was hard because of the lack of cakes. Losing the vegetables and stuff, I never really ate them anyway. But okay, so maybe you just want 1 piece of fruit a day, right? That's something. Or maybe you want to do 5-minute walk a day. Maybe you want to spend, and you can do that really easily. If you're struggling to move, you'd be like, okay, well, the first time an advert rocks up, I'm just going to get up and walk around the sofa until the advert finishes, right? So I'm not saying you have to like go from 0 to hero. Maybe as part of like physical health or mental health, okay, well, I'm going to plan in like an hour's bath soak full of essential oils. That's like my go-to. So, and I want you to achieve those 3 things, right? So you've already looked at what's happened. We can't go back. Now we're going to start doing something to move forward. Pick one of your 3 key life areas: health, wealth, or relationship. It doesn't matter which one you want to kind of like see rapid action in. Just one of those a day. So be like, oh, well, I'm going to move my relationship needle forward today. Maybe I'm going to move my health forward tomorrow. And don't drop a ball, right? So don't overwhelm yourself. If you're going to say, I'm going to eat a piece of fruit, don't say every day. Say twice this week. 2 bits of fruit this week. Maybe like you have a banana and an apple, right? And eat the banana first because it'll go off first. So use your common sense. Maybe you're going to make a cup of tea for your partner that they never asked for, but you know that they enjoy a cup of tea at XYZ time. You're going to get up and do it for them. Like, do something. And then when it comes to after Christmas, after all that shit's out the way, right? And if it was bad, don't worry about it. There'll be next year. Okay, so then once Christmas is out of the way and you are now in a position where you have done your yearly review already, and now you've seen massive action on the things that you want to achieve, now sit down and decide what things you want to achieve in 2026. Right? You need to be rocking up on the 1st of January with an idea of what you're doing in January. Everybody waits till January and then they're like, okay, well, now I need to make a plan. And then they make a plan and they kind of start in it by the end of January. And they've kind of lost momentum. And then, it's March. Oh, well, maybe I'll do it next quarter. Like, just like if you go into January with the momentum, you will work all the way through and you will be in 100% different place by this time next year. So what I did last year is I signed up for Bushra Azra was doing 12 days of Christmas. And I was like, okay, well, I can sign up and I can watch this thing for 30 minutes a day, every day for Christmas, teeny tiny little business-based wins, right? And because I did that 30-minute like live call, after the live call, I did more stuff. And then I was excited to do more stuff and excited to do more stuff and excited to do more stuff. And then obviously gave us $3,000 in January, which I'm very grateful for. But I know you probably don't have a business. That's fine. You can do this in your health, right? You can do this in your relationships. Maybe you go and look for a podcast of somebody, so away from the conspiracy shit, right? You have to be able to see that the stuff that you do makes a difference and matters. And then when you're kind of looking at all the conspiracy shit, which is not just solely down to you, yes, you'll get disheartened. Because we're human, but you will still be seeing success in your own life, right? And that's huge, because if you feel good, the energy of the nation is good. And if the energy of the nation is good, that actually stops the bad shit from happening, right? Because that's the monk effect. That's the way the universe works with quantum physics, right? This is why for 5 years, the best way for us to win this war is if we all just spend time making ourselves happy. That is it, actually it, right? When we feel good, we make good decisions. When we feel good, it's infectious. The people next to us feel good. So then you've got 5 people making good decisions. We beat... I'd say do what Jesus do, but no, I don't mean like the drugging part. I mean like let's love I mean, love people a bit too much. I don't know. I need to just I'm sorry. Laugh, right? Just laugh, because if you don't, then you will feel like shit and you will make bad decisions. Like, you have to turn on like, let's talk neurology. You have to turn on your prefrontal cortex. The only way that you turn on the part that's going to help you make good decisions, desire-based decisions, change the world in a way that benefits society long term, is if you feel good and that part of your brain's working. And it's not in the amygdala HPA axis feedback loop, which is being triggered by your fear-based response, right? If you are running on cortisol, then you are not making good decisions. You're only making decisions to get you away from fear, which will create more fear, right? And that is just the way it is. The only way we fix everything is by feeling good. And when Christmas creeps up and New Year creeps up, and one of the fastest paths to depression over this season is thinking that you've wasted the time that you've had. You cannot do anything with the time that's gone. And even if you had a time machine, you really shouldn't, because all the stuff that you've done has shaped you into the you that you are. And so you need to keep it. But it doesn't need to derail what happens next. Like, you literally have an opportunity to change it. You've just got to do it. So, on that note, to summarize, spend some time, look at all the things that you succeeded. Now, it doesn't have to be big things at all. Maybe you just wanted to keep a plant alive for 12 months. I don't think I've ever done that. Maybe I'll put that on my next year. Like, next year, I will keep a plant alive. Matt's really good. Matt, like, the only reason we've got plants in the house is because Matt keeps them alive. He had to take them out of my office because I try hard. I'm like Katie the plant killer. Okay, so I mean, but maybe that's something you have achieved. Maybe you propagated some plants. I'm very impressed if you've done that. Like, genuinely impressed. Maybe you stepped away from a toxic relationship. It doesn't have to be like, an intimate partner relationship. It could just be like maybe your family. You've just had enough, right? It's their free will choice to decide to believe whatever they believe. That's fine. You don't have to be involved in it. Then, blood's thicker than water. So what? So's oil. That's my response. Like, so? Like, and? Like, you wouldn't force somebody to be in a emotionally or physically toxic relationship with somebody that they're supposed to have decided to be with. Why would you force them to do the same thing just because somebody gave birth to them? And like, I've never understood that as a reason. And as soon as I say that to my clients, I'm just like, but like, how would you feel if you were forcing your best mate to be in that relationship? If it was well, you tell them to get out, so just get out, right? Why? They're just people. Okay, so maybe it's something like anything. Maybe you just started to draw, learned to draw. Maybe you've got a dog and you always wanted a dog. It doesn't matter, like anything. Maybe you painted a room. Whatever you've done that you wanted to achieve this year, you need to record it. And if you've got photos, like, create a scrapbook. Like, your 2020, like, have fun. I mean, obviously depending on how much time you have, right? Minimum is half an hour. But if you want to spend all day just like bouncing around in the past like 11 months, go for it. And then from tomorrow, well, once you've done your review, pick 3 things you're going to do and then make sure you do it. And make sure you check in before you go to bed so you can run around and do it. And if you want to know how I'm doing that checking in process, again, I mentioned I got Sintra AI the other day. They've got a Gigi. I mean, it's like a racehorse, right? It's a boy. I think it's a boy. I don't know whether they are boys and girls. I don't know. Well, I think it's a boy. So it's a personal development thing, right? And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna unload on you. And I'm just like, hey, this is what I've achieved. See you later. So I'm just, every time I do something, I'm like, hey, this is what I've done, right? And then it's going to tell me what I've done each week because I'm quite happy to just rock and roll. I've just done this thing. Oh, fuck, I haven't done this thing. That's fine. I'll do it another day. This is my way of actually holding myself accountable, because it's very easy when you work for yourself to not hold yourself accountable, and 1 week turn into another week, turn into another week, turn into another week. So feel free to, jump on free AI. They have, like, if you're on, don't use it to kind of like I'm not using it as the personal development tool. Like, I'm not allowing it to teach me how to feel good. I'm just using it, and then it goes, well, okay, and I'm like, yeah, well than me. Okay, like, that's it. It's just the cheerleader, and I'm holding myself accountable because it doesn't ping me, doesn't remind me to do anything. This is me holding myself accountable, and taking the stuff off my blackboard, doing the work, and then gonna get a rundown. You've achieved this in like 7 days. Well done, you. Right? So feel free. Like, I'm very much enjoying it. Don't use AI for mental health or personal development. Like, they are trained to just agree with, in those circumstances, they're trained to agree with whatever you're doing. So you have to be kind of like I actually got annoyed with it earlier when I was like, oh my God, I didn't do the thing. Oh, well, sometimes, your physical complication. I was like, no, but it's not a reason for me not to do the thing. Actually, because I don't need an excuse. I'm probably harsher on myself, but it's, if I can move, I couldn't take the dogs for a walk because I literally can't walk at the moment. That's fair enough. It's like saying to like somebody with no legs, well, get up and walk. They get pretend legs. Anyway, but do you know what I mean? So just be careful with AI. But if you're like me, and the idea of using a structured thing that you're then having to fill in will be the barrier to checking in regularly. I used to just journal, but then I would forget, because if I'd achieved something on the fly, like if I'm walking the dogs and doing stuff, or, doing stuff or washing the dishes, like I would then have to go get my journal and I'd forget. This is why I ended up in this situation. I need to find a way to make sure I'm cataloging all the shit that I've done, because I realized I'd done a hell of a lot more than I thought I had, when I was just like, oh my God, I haven't achieved these 3 big things, but I've achieved all these 40 things that I kind of forgotten about. So don't go into 2026 feeling like 2025 wasn't the success that it actually was. If you're still here, you're surviving. You're thriving. And spend December building the momentum for January, because then you can bounce off that new year, new you energy already ready. Right? You can just like use it for pure momentum. And then next December the 1st, you can all tell me how successful you was. So I'm going to go and put some more oils on. Have yourselves a beautiful rest of your week. I have faith in humanity. I do have faith in humanity. It's a bit slow going. But that's okay, because that tortoise and hare race, like the tortoise is the thing that won, right? My Henry would win because he's a grumpy shit. I think, like they say, like, pets are like their owners, aren't they? I'm going to win to piss everybody off. But the hare kind of, he sprant, and is that grammatically incorrect? Very probably. Did a bit of sprinting, and then he just gave up. Right? You don't need to sprint. You just need to get up every day and do something. But catalog it so you get those dopamine hits. And when we talk about dopamine, like, it literally only lasts for about between 1 and 5 minutes, depending on, kind of how healthy you are. So those 3 things, space them out. Like, don't do them all in one go. Space them out, schedule them in, and celebrate the fact that you did it. If it was just to eat a piece of fruit and you have that apple, celebrate the fact that you had the apple, not by having a cake. Just pat yourself on the back. Like, well done me, I did have the apple. And then, record it, that you did it. Especially if you're struggling emotionally, you will very quickly forget the things that you did that were good things. So don't record this things that you didn't do, just record the things that you did. And then plan what you want to do and achieve. And then next year, make some big audacious goals. And we will sprint to the finish. 2026. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's 31 days. Have an amazing rest of your week, and I shall see you next week. And I'm excited for Christmas, and I need to put my Christmas tree up, and I'm going to do that tomorrow.